This conference will now be recorded.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I think you can probably all see our title slide there. Thank you for joining us for this. What we're calling our overview and navigating the zoning ordinance. Feel free to put in questions in the chat box as we go along, as they occur to you. I think we'd like to get through our slides and then we'll go through the questions that you've entered, and people can also just unmute and ask their questions at the end. But we'll try to run through our slides. Now, if you've been following along, as I can see some of the names I know you have, if you've been following along with the zMOD project, some of the beginning, this will be a repeat for you. But then we are also going to do a demo of the new ENCODE system, and I think everyone will probably appreciate some of the pro tips that we'll be sharing about that system as well. All right, so here you have a little snip of the zoning ordinance where you can see a piece of a use table and a piece of our lot and building dimensional tables. The new zoning ordinance, it is more graphical, it's an easier to understand language. It was developed after over 3 years of work and many public meetings, and it was adopted on March 23rd, and it went into effect on July 1st. I think after working on it for so long, I wasn't sure what to expect, if the sky would fall on July 1st, but we seem to have survived and gotten all the way to July 14th. So hopefully things are going as well as can be expected. But there are definitely new things, and we'll touch on some of the highlights in this meeting. And then we're going to have some additional lunch and learn and training sessions on that will dive into detail into more topics, and we'll mention those at the end. But the new ordinance, it is much streamlined. It went down from 20 articles and 6 appendices down to 9 articles. It went from over 1,200 pages to just over 600 pages. And a lot of that was achieved by reducing repetition, writing in more plain language, and then the use of tables. And I would say the graphics didn't necessarily reduce page count, but they help illustrate concepts. And then, as I mentioned, it's been put on our easy-to-use Encode platform, and we'll be showing you that in just a little bit. So the new structure, here you have our 9 articles, and I'll just mention a few of them. Article 2 on the zoning districts, it has a section for each zoning district, so it goes through each one, like R1, R2, and so forth. And in each district, you see some images of what that looks like. You have the tables like you saw on the previous slide, which show your setbacks and other regulations and so forth. So it's much abbreviated from the old approach. And then we have an article with the overlay districts. So for instance, no longer are the CRDs and the HODs relegated to an appendix. They are folded into the main body of the ordinance, and there's a section on each of the overlay districts. And then Article 4, this is really a big one. Article 4, this has all of the use regulations. It has a use table for the conventional districts, and then another use table for the planned districts, and we'll be showing you those in a minute. It also has the general and the use specific standards. Now, Article 5, this is our new junk drawer, I'll say. It has a lot of different topics. It has a section on lot and bulk standards, including a very long section on setbacks. It really tells you what we value in terms of zoning by the length of that section. It also has the affordable dwelling unit program and other sections, for instance, landscaping and screening. You'll find all of those types of development standards in Article 5. But we did want to break out parking and loading. So that has its own Article 6 and signs Article 7. Now, Article 8, Administration Procedures and Enforcement, that has a section on the review procedures, and then it's divided by type of application. And we'll show you some really great tables that summarize all of the different application types that aren't use related for the special exceptions and the special permits. This is also where, of course, you'll find the fee table. That's an important thing to note. And then Article 9 has all the definitions. Now, I also want to call your attention to Appendix 1 as we transition from the previous ordinance to this one. Appendix 1 is going to be really important to pay attention to the details about what applications can proceed under previous approvals. So just real quick, if you're referencing the new zoning ordinance, it's a little bit different. So as I mentioned, it has 9 articles, and the word article is, if you're writing it in a letter or a memo, it is not abbreviated and it's capitalized, the word article. And then under each article, there are sections. And likewise, the word section is capitalized and not abbreviated. And then everything below the section is just referred to as a subsection, and it's also not abbreviated. And when it's in the middle of a sentence, we don't capitalize it. And ENCODE, you'll see, makes it a lot easier to figure out what the reference is. And Casey will show you a little bit of that later. Now, substantively, we did a lot of work with modernizing the uses, and there are a lot of new uses to get to know. So we just put a few of the new uses up here on the slide for you. Stacked townhouses, for instance, those were pulled out from multifamily. They have been assigned, and I'll call it an interim parking rate of 2.3 spaces per unit. And stacked townhouse is defined as a vertical stack of 2 units. So if you have a stack of 3, it's not going to be a stacked townhouse. But when I say it's an interim rate of 2.3 spaces per unit, that's because we have started the parking rate amendment. So I'm sure that'll take some time. That's a big endeavor, but the appropriate rate for stacked townhouses, along with, probably most other uses, will be reviewed as part of that amendment. But for now, we established that rate because it's in between a single family attached and a multifamily. Goods distribution hub. This is our version of a last mile delivery facility. It's allowed in commercial districts. It's not to say that you can't have a smaller freight distribution hub in the industrial districts. That's definitely still allowed. But if you meet the size limits and the standards for a goods distribution hub, it lets you have these smaller fulfillment centers in the commercial districts as well. Now, indoor and outdoor commercial recreation, these are major consolidations from the previous ordinance, which had many finely grained uses, and we have consolidated those. And those consolidations did result in some changes in permissions. Electric vehicle charging, we specified that as the accessory use. Now, if the electric vehicle charging station doesn't meet these standards, it would be deemed to be a vehicle fueling station. And then data center, that's also a new use that we've definitely seen in the past, but it didn't have a home in the previous ordinance, so we have called that out. Now, the uses that I mentioned, they're organized according to a structure. So the big grouping are the classifications, and we have 7 of them that you see here. And then within each classification, there are categories. And then within the categories, the uses are just in alphabetical order. So if you're looking for a use, this structure may help you find it. And of course, you can always just do Control F, and that'll help you find it. And then if you're trying to determine what is this use, in addition to looking at the definition for the specific use, we also want to consult that category definition, because that can really help you make sure that where you think the use belongs, that really is its proper home.
All right, and now on to ENCODE, which is our new online platform that we're going to be doing a little live demonstration for you. I'll first just go over a couple of slides that help orient you to the new landing page that is located on the ENCODE platform. This is our homepage landing page. It gives you a little welcome message. Important to note, it will show the current date of the ordinance that you'll see on the online platform. So right now, the live version is updated through April 13th. So that includes the recent Wellington Historic Overlay District. But we're still working on getting some of the more recent amendments integrated and uploaded into ENCODE. It also has our contact information for the Zoning Administration Division, so you can get in contact with us that way. If you click on the View Zoning Ordinance tab, it's going to take you to the ordinance, to the text itself. It has our nice little cover page showing off the Heritage Building, and then basically some kind of table of contents navigation bookmarks. So you can navigate through the articles and expand the folders to see the different subsections and sections throughout the ordinance. The next tab across the top is a search function. So you can use this to search throughout the ordinance on a certain term. One of the really exciting features that we love is that we can actually tag these more dynamic search terms to specific sections. So let's say that you are looking for where to put a play set. You may not know that in our zoning terms, we call that an accessory structure. So we have tagged now terms like play set to the appropriate subsection to where those regulations will be found. And we can actually look at what people are searching and build this dynamic search function over time to make sure that the more common terms are associated with the more maybe the zoning terms, and we can easily find those subsections and the appropriate regulations. The next tab across the top is our Archives tab. This includes all of the PDFs of our previous reprints going back to the 1941 zoning ordinance. So if you're looking for what the regulations were at a certain time, a certain date and time, you can go ahead and find the appropriate reprint and find what those regulations are. This current zoning ordinance is something, this archive is going to be built over time. So you can actually search on a date. Let's say if you were looking to find what was effective the day prior to the Wellington Historic Overlay District on April 12th, you can search that date and you'll see the ordinance prior to when that amendment was added. There are also footnotes that are going to be automatically populated, and you'll see that with the Wellington one, that a link to say exactly what that ordinance amendment was, what the number was. You can pull the clerk's letter to see what the text was that was approved by the board. So the next two tabs, we have a maps drop-down that will take you to our dynamic online maps, as well as a resources drop-down box. And we can include additional resources over time, but you can link directly to our homepage, the DPD homepage, different FAQs, the Plus, the new online application system database, the PFM. All of this information is listed, and you can hyperlink directly to it. And then the next one is our tables. We have some quick tables that we thought might be easy that you can just click straight to instead of having to get into the ordinance and navigate. So we've pulled out our use tables here so you can navigate directly to the conventional tables and the planned districts tables, as well as the accessory structure height and setback requirements and the parking table. So those are kind of some quick links in order to save you some time if you're just looking for a specific topic. I will note before moving on to the live demo that the PFM, the Public Facilities Manual, is also in ENCODE now. So you're going to see a similar layout and similar features in the PFM too on their ENCODE website. So here is just a screenshot of in Article 4, some of the features that we're really excited about with ENCODE. We do have a hover box for all definitions that are going to be located in this use table, as well as throughout different parts and different sections of the ordinance. So you can hover over a term that has that underlined kind of dotted line indication, and the definition is going to pop right up for you. If you click on it, it'll come up in a separate window as well, so you can print it, copy, paste it, whatever you'd like to do with that definition. Over here on the right-hand side, these are hyperlinks to the use-specific standards, and you'll see hyperlinks to other sections or subsections located throughout the ordinance. So you can click right there and it'll navigate you straight to the applicable use-specific standards. This arrow at the top is a good thing to call out. At the top of your page, you're going to see exactly the path of where you are in the zoning ordinance. So this is going to tell you that you're in Article 4, here in section 4101 and specifically subsection 4101.3. So that's just helpful for if you're trying to use a reference or to make sure you figure out where you're going and where you've been. Throughout the ordinance, as Carmen mentioned, we do have lots of figures and graphics. So the interesting thing, this ENCODE is accessible on all different devices. So it's accessible with your desktop, but also with your cell phone and your tablet. So what you see in line in terms of the graphics is something that's at a resolution that's kind of accessible across the board. If you click on it, you'll get a high resolution pop-out box. So you can see that graphic in high resolution. You can print it, again, add it to whatever document you'd like. So now to our live demo, we're going to use pet grooming establishment as our example for our use because Carmen and I really love to show off our pets whenever we get the opportunity. You can tell that Carmen's dog Kona is way more excited about pet grooming than my cat Walter. But either way, we're going to use this use as our demonstration. So in order to get to our ENCODE platform, you can get to there a variety of ways. This is our zoning ordinance homepage here on our Fairfax County government website. There's a big call out box, the red box that says view the zoning ordinance on ENCODE, so you can click straight to it there. You can also use the search feature anywhere from the Fairfax County government website, Google as well, many ways to get to there. But when you click on this red button, you're going to be taken to our landing page, and it's going to cycle through a couple different images of Fairfax County. We are looking into seeing if we can get a key to tell you where those images are because we do want to highlight these different areas in Fairfax County. So I'm going to click to view the zoning ordinance if I want to find out what are my regulations for pet grooming establishment. It will take you right to the cover page, and it's of course going to load on me because I'm working from home and not connected to the Fairfax County website itself. But once this spinning wheel of death completes, you will see the cover page that was mentioned or shown in that screenshot. There it is, with the hyperlink to all of the different articles here. And so you can either navigate from here. We also have a very, very finely grained table of contents if you really want to see everything that is included, all the different bookmarks. So this is also each of the bookmark subsection if you are interested in navigating from there. Usually I like to navigate through the parent folders of the articles. So if I'm looking for pet grooming establishment, I'm really interested, okay, is that permitted? Let's say I have a C6 zoning district. I'm going to start off by going to the use tables tab here. And specifically, since it's C6, I'm going to pull up the table for residential, commercial, and industrial districts. Now here you'll see those gold bar classifications that Carmen was mentioning, as well as those categories in the bone colored bar beneath, and then the individual uses are all delineated beneath that. This zoning district bar across the top does lock, so you can scroll on through and it's not going to go away. If you know that pet grooming establishment is in the commercial classification, you can scroll on down to that. If you're not sure which classification it is, you can do, like Carmen mentioned, the Control F, and it'll pop up this little feature box here, this little search box, and I'm going to put in pet grooming, and there it is right there. So I can hover over this and get the definition of a pet grooming establishment. I can click straight to it, and here's a little separate box that pulls up the definition, so I can copy, paste, or print that. And then if I'm looking for the C6 district, all right, I'm going down, and so I see that it is P for permitted, but there are also use-specific standards on the right-hand side that are going to apply. So I do want to check those out, and I can click straight to them. It's going to take me to those standards, and all right, so I got to make sure my animals are in an enclosed building and they can't be boarded overnight. If I want to go back to that use table, all I have to do is hit the back button, and it's actually going to take me to exactly where I was in that use table. So it's found me back to where the pet grooming establishment is. So that way I can look at, let's say maybe I want to check out animal shelter, the definition there. Maybe I want to go and look at the use specific standards for an animal shelter, and I can toggle back and forth between those two areas using the back and forward button. So let's say now I know that I am permitted in the C6 district, but I want to know what my setbacks are. You can actually go ahead and click. These are all hyperlinked to the zoning districts along the top. So I'm going to click to the C6 district. And it's going to take me to Article 2 now, and where the C6 district regulations are located. So I can scroll on the new lot and building dimensional standards table, where it gives me my setback regulations, my building height, all of that relevant information with a keyed graphic that tells you, where the setback is measured. And you can click on this keyed graphic, and there's your high resolution image right there. And you can scroll on down, and you have cross references to other standards as well. So from here, you can go on to parking, let's say, and see what your parking rate is. We have a parking minimum required off-street parking table that is also keyed just similarly to like the use specific standards, the use tables. So you'll have your classifications, your categories, and you can scroll down to find your commercial uses and your pet grooming establishment parking rate. So you can go back and forth between these to look at the other different standards. Another item I would like to point out is let's say you're looking for a use that isn't, or not a use, special exception or special permit that isn't a use. So let's say you want to increase the maximum building height, and that's a special exception. In Article 8, our Administration, Procedures, and Enforcement, or our APE for short article, we do have some tables that are really helpful in the special exceptions and special permits sections here. So with the special exceptions, if you're not a use, we have a summary of all of those SEs, those non-use SEs that are located in this table. And you can also link to the specific section or subsection that has the related standards. So let's say we wanted to do an SE for increase in building height. We can click here, and it's going to take you to the board SE process and what those standards are. The same is true for the special exceptions section here. So you've got all of your reduction of setback requirements, all of those non-use special permits are located in this table. Article 8 also does include the fee schedule, so that's important to note, and it's being grouped by different application types. You've got your administrative permits, your special permits, that is all here. And then another thing that I would like to point out is Article 9 with the definitions. So we have grouped them by general terms, by uses, and then by the floodplain definitions. So you'll see that these are actually kind of carved out into their use classifications. So if you're looking for a definition in one or the other, you may want to check out the other one, or you can just click on that parent folder, the Article 9, and you can do, again, a Control F search, and it will take you to where that is in Article 9. I will also point out that we do have an amendment history table that we are still finalizing and adding a couple of different elements to, but this is going to be populated as we add and make amendments to the zoning ordinance. I mentioned that there was that footnote added to Article 3 with the Wellington Historic Overlay District, and this is going to link you to what the amendment was, the description of it, and then it actually includes the clerk's letter, the approved clerk's letter with what the language was that was adopted by the board. So that is ENCODE in a nutshell. I'm going to also just highlight really quickly, if I can find what tab it was on, that we do have some, before we go into questions, we do have some upcoming additional outreach and educational lunch and learns. Where is it? Why am I on? Oh, here we go. If you go to our zMOD website and our zMOD outreach page, there are a variety of different topics that are coming up, including the accessory living units, home-based businesses, and then we do have some in September that we will be adding the GoToMeeting information to as well. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it over for any questions. Any questions?
So I see a question in the chat box. It says, do you have any materials summarizing the residential zoning changes for homeowners associations? I think that's a good question. We do have a summary of all the notable changes. It's not I would say it's not particularly focused. It's everything, you know, it's not focused on just the residential ones, but that's certainly something that we can look into to try to, you know, provide information to everyone, you know, that's specific to what you might be looking for.
And I would encourage anybody interested in the residential changes, to attend the upcoming outreach meeting where we'll be covering anything related to residential. It's on September 8th, also at noon, and we'll be recording it just like this one and posting as well. But that will cover accessory structures and other residential changes.
And something that was a lot of work is updating the county websites and flyers to try to reflect the new zoning ordinance, because of course every reference had to be changed, and then sometimes substantively things were changed. Now, as you're poking around on the county website, if you see something that hasn't been updated, please let us know, because we'll want to get it updated. But even the flyers that DCC has, I think those have probably by and large been updated, and some of those cover some of those homeowner related topics.
Are there any other questions or any other requests for something to be demonstrated? We can easily pull up the ordinance again and show you anything if you have any questions about any of the specific standards or where something's located. We have a question. Oh, thank you, Donna. Thank you for the comment on the presentation. We have a question from Liz about, do we cover drop boxes? So we do have a specific use for drop boxes, and that includes all of the related use specific standards in the zoning ordinance. Is that a request to cover drop boxes in a presentation? If you'd like to clarify in the comment box, we can respond to that.
And as I recall, I don't think we changed any of the standards on donation drop boxes. I think they were carried forward from the previous ordinance.
Yes. We have another question about, has zMOD affected any changes in home-based food production by any chance? And that is a great question. We have provided a basically a consolidation and modernized home-based business use. So that is something that we are doing a lunch and learn on, I want to say in 2 weeks. I will pull the exact date, specifically on home-based businesses. We are doing a lunch and learn on that on July 28th at noon as well. So I'd encourage you to attend if you're interested in all of the specific home-based business changes to those standards. We have a question about any code such as parking requirements change. Carmen, would you like to respond to that one?
Sure. So some, not very many, because we know that, you know, the really careful look at parking rates is being undertaken now. But we did have to, for instance, for new uses, they needed to have a rate, or like we pulled like I mentioned, the stacked townhouses, we pulled that out and it needed a rate. But other things that were new uses, they needed something. So every use that is in the use table, and part of the reason why we covered the classification and category structure is that we have used that same organization, not just in the use tables, but also in the parking rate table and in the definitions, as you saw. And so every use that's in the use table also is listed in the parking rate table now in the same way, and everything has a parking rate, where previously that wasn't necessarily the case. Some things that we needed to create a new rate for were covered in the LDS parking rate table, so we used that as a basis. So we definitely, this was not an evaluation of parking rates. We just needed to make sure that that table tracked and was consistent with the new uses, that's all.
We got a comment about some of the PFM links to the zoning ordinance are still referencing old zoning ordinance articles 13, 14, 15, and those articles are now gone with the new zoning ordinance. Yes, I believe that our cohorts in the PFM group are going to be making those changes to make sure that we're referencing the new articles now. So hopefully they are linking to the correct article when you click on them. But yes, that is, thank you for identifying that. If there are no other questions, please feel free if you do have a question when navigating the ordinance, or something that you just like to raise to Carmen and I. I like the, if you see something, say something. I think that needs to be our motto while we're going about and getting into the new ordinance. Please feel free to reach out to me or Carmen Bishop. You can also reach out to our planner of the day. They are good with quicker responses, since Carmen and I are getting a lot of questions and involved in a lot of that at the time. So, and we hope that you join us for the upcoming lunch and learns on accessory living units, home-based businesses, residential districts, commercial districts, all of those that are listed on our zMOD outreach page. All right. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your lunch.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.